sweeter. I've heard them sing, he paid the price in Jesus for it all. I've heard them sing, I'm coming home, and heed the master's call. I've heard them sing the modern songs and songs of long ago. But amazing grace, so sweet the sound is the sweetest song I know. Amazing grace, so sweet the sound, oh how sweet is the sound. No sweeter song in this life could be found. Heard about the Savior's blood, washed as white as snow. But amazing grace, so sweet the sound is the sweetest song I know. It was the song my mother sang in sweet and humble voice. Like music from the world above, it made my soul rejoice. Its soothing words and melodies like the rippling waters flow. But amazing grace, so sweet the sound is the sweetest song I know. Amazing grace, so sweet the sound, oh how sweet is the sound. Sweeter song in this life could be found. Heard about the Savior's blood, washed as white as snow. But amazing grace, so sweet the sound is the sweetest song I know. Amazing grace, so sweet the sound, oh how sweet is the sound. Sweeter song in this life could be found. Heard about the Savior's blood, washed as white as snow. But amazing grace, so sweet the sound is the sweetest song I know. But amazing grace, so sweet the sound is the sweetest song I know. But amazing grace, so sweet the sound is the sweetest song I know. But amazing grace, so sweet the sound is the sweetest song I know. The sweetest, most wonderful song I know.
And welcome again to Dove on the Window. I am your host, Pastor Wendell Jeffrey, and this is my beautiful wife and co-host, Sister Jeffrey. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm wonderful.
You look wonderful. How was your day?
Thank you. My day was good. Hectic, but good. My
Had a
day
hectic
was good.
day?
Yep. I had a hectic day.
What made it hectic?
Well, I'm currently helping out in the dental department, and because today is a short day, just from 8 to 1:30, we had clients, so it's one after the next. As soon as you finish one person, somebody else came, others came in, it's one after the next. So it was a hectic few hours. Even though it was a short day, it was a hectic few hours.
All right, but you had a good day at work.
Yes, my day was good.
All right, so let us get right into our program for the evening.
Yes.
Shall we pray?
Yes.
Father in heaven, we thank you so much for the opportunity that we can come again in living colors. And we can share, and we could have folks who will share with us as we go through this program. We ask for your Holy Spirit's guidance. May everything be done decently and in order. May learning take place. May we understand to some degree what it is we are discussing so that we can be able to improve our lot in life. Be with those who are joining us either by television or over the World Wide Web, and we ask that as we share, as we discuss, oh God, we just want to better ourselves so that our today will be better than our yesterday. So just be with us, guide us. Thank you for those who would spend the next few moments with us, and we ask that we would equally be blessed and inspired. We thank you for hearing our prayer in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. So we left off the last time. We weren't here last week. I had viral conjunctivitis. That's a big word.
Still trying to figure out where you got it.
Yeah, it's probably when I went to do some anyhow outreach. Right. And we were talking about the uninvolved parent as we continue with our parental styles. We finished off talking about the uninvolved parent. And we said that the uninvolved parent, the children, the uninvolved parent operates from a position of self-absorption. They're involved in themselves. They are unstructured. The parents, the uninvolved or the neglectful parent is an unstructured parent,
Okay.
a detached parent. Sometimes the uninvolved parent is a cruel parent.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, is a cruel parent.
That's a lot. That's a lot in one.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
lot. That's a lot there in one.
A cruel parent. And children from the indulgent home, they receive a few limits on their behavior, and they often become uncertain because, again, these children are operating without any guidance.
Yeah.
And so they become uncertain, and they're anxious. They don't know what is right and wrong, so they really don't know quite how to operate. Because they don't have a guide as to what is right or what is wrong.
I get you. I get you.
The next parental style that we will look at is the permissive. And so the literature says that the permissive parent and the uninvolved or the neglectful parent shares some of the same
Parenting styles.
parenting styles. All right? And the children who come from the uninvolved home or the parents who are uninvolved, they are confused about how to behave around others.
Okay.
So when you have a child who comes to your home or who is in the classroom or even a church who comes from a home where the parental style is the uninvolved style, that child doesn't know quite how to behave.
You
You see?
and so it would be a waste of time for the parent to say, please sit, don't move around, don't touch, stop touching, stop moving stuff. You know, they come to the house, and because at home they're allowed to do this and do that. When they come now,
When
they can't sit. They can only sit for a few minutes at a time. Other than that, they're up, they're moving around, they're touching, they want to know what this is, they want to know, so they really don't know how to behave.
Correct.
They really don't know how to behave.
And they're aggressive. The literature is saying that children who are coming from homes where the parents are uninvolved or neglectful, the children are aggressive and they lack self-control.
Why would they be aggressive? Why would they be aggressive?
Because they have no compass.
Okay.
If the child, and again, the next parental style is permissive, we're going to get some more into that. But a child that comes from a home that is uninvolved does not have limits. And so when they come into an environment where there is control,
Okay.
when they're told they can't have this or to
I
sit
can't do that.
or to not, they act against that because they're not accustomed to that. See, they're not accustomed to that. And as we are speaking here, you might be a parent who has trained your children properly. However, the intent of this program is not only for parents to improve their parental skills, but for those of you who are listening to also apply what you are listening to other people's children, because like I think it was Hillary Clinton who said, it takes a village to raise a child, all right? And of course we have Jesus himself who said, suffer the little children to come unto me, and he was talking about children that were not his.
Yeah.
And so when you hearing these things, it behoves us to apply them, all right? And you know, I said before that whenever I lead out, if I go to if I go to conduct a lecture series and there are children in the audience or the congregation, or when I used to pastor, I would tell my churches that the children of the church belongs to everybody in the church. Okay, so your child, when your child does good, it is the church's child that has done good.
Yeah.
When the child is disobedient or the child is agitated, it is the church's child
That is
who is agitated or who is
Angry or whatever.
disgusting, as we would,
As
as
we
we
would
would
say.
say here in local parlance, so that we don't. Because what happens sometimes is we take the good. If the child is doing well, the child is well behaved, everybody loves the child. But
Correct.
nobody loves the child over there who is antsy and who is showing signs of restlessness. You see, all of a sudden that child must go to your mother,
yeah.
and go to your father. And so we don't want to take the time with the children who exhibit behaviors that are contrary to what we would like, or what we consider as acceptable behavior. See, so I'm appealing to parents to be involved in the training of other people's children, not just your own, particularly spiritual parents.
Of course. I'm going back in my mind to a little boy I had to take care of. And I remember, because of the problems that he was having, his mom said that as soon as he started to act up, and the thing is, for her, it wasn't, she had other children. It was not her intention to be neglectful of this child, to be not involved with whatever this child was doing. It's just that she didn't know how to handle this particular child, because this child was not like the other child, like the other children.
Child had a limitation?
Yes, this child, it seemed as though, I mean, it wasn't, at the time it had not been diagnosed, it just seemed as though something was wrong with this child, but we just don't know what it is, what it was. So she said that he would get up sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning and just start crying. Just crying for no reason, don't care what she do at the time. He couldn't speak. So he could not say what it is he want, what was wrong. And she said, you know, I have to go to work in the morning. I have the other children that I have to take care of. So the first thing she said she decided to do is turn on the TV. You know, because at the time they had TV going on 24 hours, children's program. So she said she would just put him in front of the television, and she would just allow him to watch television because that calmed him, and she went back to sleep, you know, until she got up to get him prepared. And as I said, he came to me with all of this going on. And I remember, as I go back, as I said, he could not speak for his age, so we know something was going on with him. He could not speak for his age. He wanted something, but he didn't know how to say what this thing is. And one of the things I had to do, because we are talking about, you know, get ourselves getting involved and understanding when these children come into our sphere, what we need to do to help them. And I remember he came to the kitchen one time, and I was eating strawberries. And he came to the kitchen, and he wants strawberries, but he doesn't know how to ask for them. So I remember he just stood by the kitchen door, and he's just doing this dance. He's just doing this thing, and I'm wondering, you know, what's wrong with this child? And then I said to him, would you like some strawberries? And he said, as I said, he couldn't speak. He didn't know what to say, so he shook his head, and I gave him. But one of the things I decided to do, as I talked to the mother, and at the time he was going to school, and he hadn't been diagnosed as yet. They were working with him, trying to figure out what was wrong with him, whether he was autistic, what was going on with him. And I spoke to the mom, and I said, here, whenever he's with me, I'm going to try these things. I'm going to try to talk to him, tell him say this. Say I want to go to the bathroom. Say I'm going to start to communicate with him. And then I started to talk to his teacher. I spoke to his teacher and I said to her, I said, I have a situation here with this child. Whatever I'm doing here, I want you to work with me and you try the same thing at school. It worked between me and the teacher, but somehow I couldn't get it to work at home because I was always remember he would leave my house on Friday, and when he came back to me on Monday, it's almost as though I had to start the process all over again. Long story short, I was successful in getting him to talk, because we worked with him. His teacher worked with him at school. When he was home, I also worked with him, and we were able to get him to move from one stage. And every day I used to tell his mother, I said, last week was good. This week is even better. And I said, what we are going to do is we are looking for better next week. So every week I kept telling her that. I said, don't worry, we're getting better, we're getting better. Eventually, he was able to talk, he was able to say what he needed to say, etc. And I remember whenever he got in problems at school, they would always call me. They would always call me. And I remember one of his teachers saying to me, Mrs. Jeffrey, how do you get this child to do what you want him to do? I said, I always let him know. Well, I use the word boss, but I say I always let him know that I was the one in charge. I'm the one in charge, because in order for you to accomplish this, we have to work together. And it got to the point where as I said, when they called me and I went to him, they couldn't get him to say what the problem was, but I could. I would go to him and I would call him and I said, what happened? And he would cry. I was playing with the ball, but he did not understand that there was a time limit to playing with the ball. So you got to play with the ball and then you had to pass it on. So I was very successful with working with that little boy. When he came to me, he was probably about four, almost 5 years old. And when you see, I left, oh my goodness, he could talk. Whether you remember, he could talk.
I'm smiling. I'm smiling because we have kind of shifted a little away from what we're dealing with, except to say that I love your passion, and I know that there's some parent who would have listened to you, who would say, I would like her to work with my child. You know,
you see, one of the reasons
I think because I saw what you did for that, I was there. I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to you in a detached way.
Okay.
Just to relive the process, but I was there, and I knew when he came and he couldn't talk and he couldn't express anything, and I saw how you worked with him, and how by the time we were leaving the U.S., you had gotten him miles away to where his mother would call you when she's home. She would call you to say, what do I do? He's acting so and so, and so I know the work you did, and I really think, and I know that you're into general nursing now, and again we are shifting away a little from what we're talking about, but I just want to say this. I know that your nursing is kind of general practitioner nursing, but I really think you are a pediatric nurse. I really think that your calling is working with children, particularly children who have learning and physical limitations or disabilities, right? So, and I hope that you get there. I hope that you get there. Get there someday.
And what I want to say is, I gave that story because I wanted folks to know there. You know, we are talking about the uninvolved and the neglectful person, neglectful parents, and I wanted to throw that out there because I said I know a lot of times the parent becomes that way because of the child. They don't
beautiful,
understand the
beautiful
child.
segue. I like that.
You understand
I
me?
like that.
This child, no, my other children are not like this child. I don't understand this child. And it's not that they want to be uninvolved. It's not that they want to be neglectful. However, because you don't understand who this child is, you just, it's as though you put your hand up in the air and you say, done. You know, you just leave the child. And I've seen, you know, children, those things happen to children like that.
If I can self-disclose, I think that to my parents, particularly my mother, I was the black sheep of the family.
Okay.
I would have been the child that caused my mother to think, where did I get him from? You know? So I understand that it could appear, like you were saying, it is not that the parent wants to be involved. In fact, the parent might be neglectful to a particular child while the parent is involved in the lives of the other children, if only because that child presents a behavior or attitude based on the child's own idiosyncrasies or the child's own mental or physical limitation. And so the parent might be inclined to be uninvolved or neglectful to that particular child, while it is not their general practice with the other children. However, as we speak to this particular thing, we're talking more about the parent who is by default, who is deliberately uninvolved and neglectful, even though, you know, and I kind of negotiate and reason with myself, and I go back and forth, because I don't know if a parent is by design a bad parent, if you understand what I mean. I would want to think that the reason a parent becomes uninvolved or neglectful, it might be that parent is dealing with his or her own issues. That came maybe as a result of uninvolved and neglectful parents. You understand?
So it's just coming down.
This thing
it's just coming down.
Oh my gosh, this thing is just a cycle sometimes, and we have to really step back. You know, the Bible speaks of those of us, the Bible says, those who are strong need to bear the infirmities of the weak. And I interpret that to mean that we need to really step outside of ourselves and get to understand why people behave the way they do. But we don't really want to do that. It's too much work. You know, I got my own issues, you try with yours. And I really think that what is needed is for us to give space, for us to give understanding to why people do the things they do, and see if we can really help. And so the literature is telling us that if your child comes from a home where the parental style is uninvolved or neglectful, that child that child shows lack of control. The child has behavioral poor relationship
issues. You mean you can't form relationship, you can't make friends, you can't keep friends, or even if you make the friends, you can't keep them because of who you are. No one wants to be around you.
You know, I'm dealing with some I deal with problem children. I call them problem children because they have some truancy behaviors and so on. And as we deal with behavior modification, you know, you can assess and you can almost tell the home from which a child came. And you know, you watch and you see that there are some children, it's just like they can't help themselves. Okay, you have a class in front of you, and when you're looking for Johnny is under the table, Johnny is up on the wall, Johnny is behind the blackboard. Another child is crying, it's because Johnny sling him with a shot or pinch him. You understand?
I understand.
And you love Johnny and you bring ice cream for
You
Johnny
try
and you
with
hug Johnny.
You try with Johnny.
And Johnny is good for 2 hours, and then Johnny goes back, and then you yell at Johnny, you give Johnny lashes, and he's good for another 2 hours, and then he goes back. He goes back to that,
Yeah.
and I don't think that behavior is. I don't think that a child really wants to be the class idiot or to be beaten.
Or-
I think that some of these behaviors are intrinsic, they are innate, they are almost non-controllable, and it behoves, again, it goes back to those of us who understand.
Yes.
It goes back to us saying, you know, what does this child need? And then the text come to mind, you can't be weary
Of well-doing.
in well-doing. You have to keep at it.
A few years, well, more than a few years ago, I went to, and this thing was for church members who were going to be involved in Vacation Bible School, who were involved in teaching the Sabbath school classes, the primary, the kindergarten, the cradle row, etc. And I remember, this was in Trinidad, this was quite a while ago. The lady who came to do the program with us, can't remember her name, but I remember her talking about Johnny, about all those Johnnies, and Johnnies, and those Elizabeths, if you want to call them. And she said one of the things that we needed to do as adults who are taking care of these children who are in our sphere, she says we must find stuff for them to do. We must find stuff. Take
Oh,
the
let's
call.
take a
Take
call.
the call. Take the call.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Jeffrey.
A pleasant good evening.
Yes, y'all look so lovely.
Thank
Thank
you.
I want to tell you something. I have a grandson, and he hardly speaks. And seeing you is such a wonderful person, I want to know if you could take him on. Is it that if I ask him a question?
I didn't hear.
She wants to know if you can take him on, and that's what I was saying.
Oh.
So what I'll do?
We have to get the number.
Give her your number, and she'll call you later on tonight or in the morning, and y'all will arrange
I
something.
ask him a question, and he answer. He will answer like an Englishman. He will say, like this. I said, where is your sister? Oh, she's in the car with mommy. He speaks English whenever he feels like.
Okay.
But sometimes he don't talk at all.
Okay,
So I'm
okay.
glad to know if you could take on this boy to get him to talk all the time.
Okay, all right. I guess I can give you my cell phone number.
Yes,
645
645
3433.
3433.
Yes.
3433.
That is correct.
And if by chance you miss that number, she also works at the Davis Memorial Hospital. You can get her there also.
Okay. Well, I could bring him a day then.
Well, you will call and y'all will arrange it.
Let me hear the number again.
645
645
3433.
3433.
Good.
645 3433.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. You're very welcome.
Okay, all right, take care.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. Go ahead.
before you go, yes, I was saying that
Get something for them to
the
do.
teacher was saying, she was saying to us, when you get those Elizabeth and Johnnies, she said, use them. Use them. She says, if you know that they're busybodies, let them help you with your picture work, because a lot of times these children are in your kindergarten, your pre-classes. Give them things to stick on the board. Give them, Johnny, come stand at the table on the at the chalkboard with a stick and point to the letters A, B, C. So she said, what we have to do is get them involved in whatever it is the class is doing. Don't leave them on the side because they're giving trouble. She says, get them involved. And more often than not, you are going to end up with a child who wants to participate in the class and wants to be involved in everything. In fact, when the child goes home, she was talking, she says when the child goes home, the child is going to be able to relate to whoever is there. Mommy or daddy, teacher, I was allowed to do this, and teacher got me, So after a while, that child, you can get that child to calm down because you're getting that child to be involved in whatever it is you're doing. And that's why it's so important for those of us who have the children. We said it last time. Adventure club, girls, guys, boys scouts, brownies, whatever it is you may be doing, where you have to have these children in your sphere. When we notice that we have the Johnnies and the Elizabeths, we have to do what is necessary to help that child to move away from being the disturbing child to being the child that's helpful. The child, that child that wants to help and is not a bully, is not a problem child, because a lot of times when you have them, you can't continue with the class because you have to be dealing with them.
Disruptive.
Yes, they become disruptive. So we have to just find a way to utilize those children. A lot of times those children are bright children. Bright children, when you deal with them, then you realize that they are bright children.
I said, like, I self-disclosed. I was one of those Johnnies. I was one of those,
One of those Johnnies.
Johnny. I was problem. I was, whenever, back in those days, they used to beat when I was going to school. And I was always in the list of the children, among the children who had to be beaten.
Okay.
I was always in the head teacher's office as a part of the children who had to be suspended. If there was any detention, I was always
spent time in detention.
So I was a very broken.
You had to write lines and
write
so.
lines. I learned how to write lines with 3 pencils because you had to write the same thing over. And I was a part of the group. And there was a couple of us. Was Roger D'Souza, and there were some of us there, and we knew to hold the pencil.
3 pencils
at a time and write whatever it is.
You must show me how to do that.
Yeah, I must got practice. but yeah, I was. So I understand. I understand these children.
Yes.
I came from a broken home. I guess comparatively, I was probably more affected by the brokenness of my home, and so. Of course, when you're a child growing up, you don't know what that's what is going on. But in retrospect, my father left my mother. My mother was struggling. I saw that, and so I can identify with that. Let's take a call. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Jeffrey.
A pleasant good evening.
You look so lovely tonight.
Oh, thank you.
But I want to know if this man related to me. He sounds like it's my life story talking.
All right, let's hear.
And nothing in change me.
Let's hear.
I have to go through life. I go through all the brutalities from the hand of God. Man going to change me.
Oh, Lord.
So look how long it is taking. So when we looking into other people's life, it's really no explanation sometimes to really we could give. It's just that you got to go through that phase. In life, you have to go through that phase. Because I didn't know to write a 3 finger, I should have had he next to me in class. I really missed out on a good companion. Anyway, good night, have a good night.
Thank you so much.
Good night to you, right?
Yeah, thank you.
I will never forget you.
Good night, my friend.
I tell you, that was good. I was a good companion.
Yeah, because you were showing,
crime.
instead of using 1 pencil, you
Yeah,
would have learned to
yeah,
use 3 pencils. So as I'm thinking about, dealing with, as we talk about the uninvolved and the neglectful parent, and we talk about the children that can come from these from this parenting style. The wonderful thing about it is that that child doesn't have to continue the cycle of becoming an uninvolved parent themselves. Because somewhere along the line, I know from what the young man is saying, the young man said it's only God could have changed him. And I'm telling myself there had to be a grandmother, somebody in the neighborhood who was calling on God on behalf of the young man, just like somebody was calling on behalf of you or of any other child who might have had to deal with, the uninvolvement or whatever was going on with the parent. And so that at the end of the day, now as an adult, you're a productive adult because somebody intervened on your behalf. They might not have been there hands-on because of probably however the situation was, but they were praying for you. As they said, somebody fell on their knees and prayed for me, that
There's
sort
a
of
song
way.
that was ringing in my head, and I made a post of it a couple of weeks ago. It said, when you feed a hungry bird
Okay.
a crust of bread, or you give a man a place to rest his head, or you bring somebody hope when hope is dead, you're not living in vain.
Yes.
And sometimes we take the little things that we can do for granted. It's as though we figure it is not my problem, without remembering that this world is a village. This world is a village. That young child that you say is not my business, when you can go and you can console or you can correct and you say it's not my business, that young child could grow up to be your worst nightmare. Okay? And so it is all of our business.
Yes.
And so it is not sufficient. For instance, Celia, you and I, we raised two decent children. Why are we still concerned about parenting? And to me, it is because it is a divine call from God in our lives to come here and to do this on the Friday nights, and also for us to do this as we go through life. And so while we're saying that, yes, you might not be an uninvolved parent, you might not be a neglectful parent, and as a result of that, your children are quote-unquote good children, it still behoves you as a parent, as an adult, to reach out and to see how best you can assist with the proper development of the other children, of other children who might not have come from homes that are as good or as formal or as proper, fit and proper as your home. And so let's look at some more of the negativities that come from children who grow up in uninvolved and neglectful homes or parenting styles. They're also impulsive. And as I'm speaking, the caller just now talked about it's his life story. I know that as I'm speaking a number of other person's life story. Impulsive, aggressive, that was me. Always in some fight, always in trouble with the teacher. And my mother's, because I grew up my mother was a single parent. My mother was not uninvolved or neglectful on purpose. It's just that she spent most of her time working. She had to get to work for about 8 in the mornings, and she walked to work. So she had to leave about 6:30, 7 o'clock, because she had to walk to work. And then when she was finished working at about 4 or 5 o'clock, she had to walk home. So she was leaving in the dark or just at the break of dawn, and she was coming back at dusk. So we experienced an uninvolved mother, but not intentionally. And so that does not again, when the child is growing up, the child can't fathom that. The child just know mommy in there and daddy gone. The child is not there calculating, well, and weighing the pros and cons. And so as I study the literature, I realize why my behaviors were so anti-normal, anti-social. And what's a reality? The reality is that I still have residue of those negativities. Okay?
Because they haven't left.
They haven't completely, and ever so often, they raise their ugly heads, and somebody said, I thought he's supposed to be a pastor. I thought he's supposed to be an adult. I thought he's supposed to be a parent. Without realizing that this pastor, this adult, this parent was a broken child.
Yep. Still have some of those things there that you have to deal with on a daily basis. Are you antisocial?
I find I am sometimes. I try my choleric, not my choleric, my sanguine personality propels me to be the life of the party and so on. However, I can be very antisocial, and you know that too. I can lock up in a room and stay there for days. I don't want to. I don't want to see anybody. I just want to be in my room, and I just want to work. I just want to read, or I just want to write. And I wouldn't even come out to eat if you don't slip some food under the door for me or something. All right?
One of the other things it talks about too is that these children can be low achievers. You don't have the motivation to do schoolwork, to do anything basically. So, well, don't let me say anything productive.
Correct.
You will come home from school and you take off your clothes. If you take off your clothes and you're just gone.
Yeah.
Homework has not been done. If you had dishes to do, if you had to bring in the sheep, or if you had whatever you had to do, has not been done because you're not, that it's not there for you. You're not motivated to do any of those things.
One of the reasons why children from uninvolved or neglectful parents are low achievers is because they have nothing to aspire to. When I'm growing up in Lane Avenue. I'm 51 now, so we're talking about 4 to 5 years ago, right? About 6, 7, I'm growing up around that time. When I'm growing up, what do I aspire? What is there to aspire to? There's Lane Avenue, where everybody's clustered in these little cubicles. There is the place in front of us that we play gam, or we scooter. There's a trench that you feel for fish.
So there's no one to be.
Mommy leaves for work early in the morning, comes back late in the night. Daddy is gone. Why should I do homework? What is homework? You can't make the connection. I don't see why I should do homework. Why should I listen to the teacher? Why should I go to school? I have nothing to aspire to. There is no crescendo. You see what I mean?
And I think at that age, you're not even thinking in your mind. You're not even thinking about being an adult.
Correct.
What will I be, a doctor? You're not. Those things are not there in your mind. You're just living for the moment.
And then what complicates it is that you living among
people who
youngsters.
Are, okay, so
you're a boy growing up, and the boys who are 5, 6, 7, 10 years older than you, for the most part, they're gangsters. And they're thief. And then you see them, and they got gold chain, and they got girlfriend, and you saying, well them ain't got no education. So that is
what you aspire to.
That's what you aspire to. And you ain't got to go to school to learn to thief. All you got to do is when the man hang the pants in the line, they teach you how to go in the pocket without shaking the pants, or how to cut it with a razor blade without cutting the person. So you cut the pants to expose the wallet. You don't got to go to school to learn them things. You learn them things on the block.
Right there on the block.
You understand?
Right there on the block.
So when I go to school, is to give the teacher trouble and hope that the 5 hours in school run out quick.
Or to sleep.
So I could go back home and play me gum on me scooter
Yep,
and continue with my wayward life.
Because school is boring. School, there's no excitement in school.
So that's why there's no there's no achievement. I still grapple with reading. I grapple with because there are some foundational things I didn't learn. Mathematics, my tables, I hear people are good with their times tables and stuff like that. After I get the 2 time tables, you got me. If 3 plus 3, as you get into 3 times table, I in trouble. I looking quick for my phone and pulling out my calculator because I did not have those foundational things.
I get
because
you.
right, so when it talks about low motivation and low achievers, it is as a result of parents who, for will or for woe, create that environment. And I'm saying, so now I experienced that as a child. And so I am giving back to people's children now.
Yeah, because
I am giving
we
back.
don't want the cycle.
No, I don't. God
the
help
buck
me, Jesus.
stops here.
No,
The buck stops
correct.
here.
I do not want. If I can reach a child, okay, and I could help.
Yep.
I can't help everyone. I can't save the world.
Yep.
However, if I could reach a child and I can give back, well, it is me. I
You're
tell
saving
I
yourself.
Tell, right. It is
You're
me. I tell
saving
my
yourself.
ex-offender guys. I tell my juvenile delinquents. For the want of a better word, I really don't like the juvenile delinquent term. However, I tell them, it is me I'm trying to save. It is the me in you that I'm
Trying to
coming
save.
after.
That's it. That's
All
it.
right?
That's it. That's why you work so hard with them. You do what is necessary because it's you yourself you're saving.
I'm trying to save. They're immature.
Immature.
They're immature, very immature. When your parents, you've not properly been parented, your parent is neglectful.
mature the way
You're
it is
immature
necessary.
because again, there's no role model. There's no nexus between being mature and becoming a better person. There's no,
There's no guidance.
there's no guidance.
There's
Let's
no
take a call.
guidance.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening, dear.
Good evening. Good evening.
Fine, thank you.
I'm kind of concerned. Not really concerned. Sometimes you wonder, why is it, especially women, they put themselves into situations or purposely put themselves into situations that they know maybe of a particular issue or whatever it is, and then they holler blue murder for when things happen. Now, I heard it, not on your station. I was trying to get through to them on 28 just now, and the time was up. I maybe got into the program to hear a young man, from Sophia, he's claiming that some man giving the women in Sophia, some woman in Sophia, AIDS and what's not. But if I remember right, and I think I know who it is, I suspect it's who it is and who, anyway, don't let me go there. I remember I was in a class one day, and this particular woman who was teaching, she usually run behind every man she find I know, huh? Number 1, 2, she signaled I was going to her to hand a paper up, huh? A paper was due to her. And she signaled to a boy, a young man, that she and him are very chummy. I think he's a relative to the man's family too. And she whispered to him, and they started to laugh, and I go, and she turned and she said, if I get AIDS, nobody gonna want to rape me. Right? I suspect it's her husband calling there just now. Now, when they go put themselves into situations, I'm running after this man, and the man, every time they find out, somebody, I know a lot of people, affluent people and what, so by the time they find out I know somebody, and they're running behind them, and they get whatever it is they get, the husband's claiming that it's people sharing things out to them, but if they're doing it, another instance too, not for a different person, they were walking behind me and tell them and these people are Christians, walking behind me, and born-again Christians, walking behind me and saying, if they get AIDS, God can heal them. That's why God don't heal a lot of them, because they're presumptuously going to do things. He don't heal them. God is not mocked.
All right, I am glad I gave you a few moments there, because it sounds as though you have a lot to, you're really hurting.
No, I am hurting. I am not hurting. Where do you get that from?
Oh, you got a lot to say.
Lot
Maybe
to
let me
say.
say it
Oh
like
my
that.
God.
Lot to say.
Well, maybe you have a lot to say because
not personal about anything.
because
And
this
just, you
this
know,
program this
when
program
nonsense,
this program is
I want to
dealing.
blame people, but they
Wait, hold a while. Hey, hold a
Okay,
while.
women,
Hey, hello,
Wait, you're not
hey. Okay, you spoke a long time.
Hold on.
Yes.
And you call in on my program, our program,
Mm-hmm.
with a concern from another program.
No, it's general. It's okay.
No, but that's not a general program. We're dealing with parental styles.
Okay. It's
And
fine,
I will give you, I'll give you, hold a while. Hey, hello. I'll give you 15 seconds to make a connection between parental styles and that story you just told me for 4 minutes. Take 15 seconds and make the connection.
I wouldn't even bother to go there. Trust me.
I thank you. Thank you for your call. Thank you so much. You know, you see, sometimes, you know, people tell me, they say, man, you just cut off people. One set of people tell me that. Another set of people tell me, you just got people and they take your program and carry it down another road. However, I have to listen. That's what I do.
Yes.
And the young lady sung as though she wanted to
This-
say.
yes.
It's obvious she saw something on another program.
And
The
she
program
wa-
ran out of time. And so she came to my program, and I understand what she was saying. I thought that what she was going to say is why it is that parents
Yes.
put themselves with guys, I mean women, because
Yes. That's
her,
what she started with. Yes.
right? That women who put themselves with guys, or maybe even guys who put themselves with certain kind of women, and then get children,
And then they
from
have
problematic relationships, and then you have the problem. That's why
Yes.
I
I
asked
thought we
her,
were going-
I said take a 50. I thought she was
Yes,
going to take the
because-
15 seconds to make the
And
nexus.
but,
but-
because that is possible. That is
Yeah,
possible.
of course. That
That
you
is
know,
possible.
you can't. There's some red flags. You know, you have a guy and he tells you, "Baby girl, I love you," and then when you really get to know the whole story, he has 5 children with 6 different women, and now you come in and you thinking, well, okay,
You are going
he
to
left
be-
all the other women, but I gonna love you so much, and what you
It's
gonna
king
do
and
to
queen.
him? He can keep me.
King and queen,
you know?
king and queen.
So sometimes we put ourselves in those situations,
yes,
or we
yes,
got this
yes.
girl and she got all these children for all these, and we figured that when we text she, that
can
she can,
be-
you know, and we haven't, and I'm not saying that a man can't be committed to you after he has been a village ram and impregnated half the village, and he can't settle with you.
Yeah.
Neither am I saying a woman who has a bundle of children with a whole host of other men can't settle with you.
Yeah.
I'm saying that you have to make sure you do the groundwork for that.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen that because you're pretty or because you know how to do your stuff that it doesn't work. And I
Doesn't
thought
work.
that is what
Yeah.
my dear friend was going to say just now.
So-
Okay, so let's talk some more of these children. Go
So
ahead.
we talked a little about immaturity.
Correct.
Another thing that happens also is that these children can suffer from psychological problems.
Of course.
And
Again, I think I
something,
I think I'm psychologically challenged sometimes.
we
I
were
might be married to you, so you could admit that, yes, but it's okay. Thanks for covering.
this psychological problems, that issue is one that causes sometimes more problems than you get more problems from it than solutions. And why I say that is because we see these children in these situations. A child who is not being taken care of the way they need to be taken care of. And as we said, it doesn't have to be a purposeful neglect or being uninvolved. Mommy has to work. Mommy has to provide food, shelter, and clothing. So mommy has to go to work. Otherwise, all of us will sit at home and suck salt. So the thing is that you have this child who's dealing with these issues. And as you get older, you still have these issues with you.
Correct.
And so I've always said that when children go through what we call trauma, that a lot of times these children need counseling. counseling, so that even if I become an adult and I've been parented by a parent who is uninvolved, neglectful, and which either whether it's deliberately or not, I still would need psychological help.
Correct.
Somebody, as I always say, to lie down on somebody dark coach or white coach, red
your
coach,
story.
and just talk my story, talk about how I felt about it, how I feel about it now. Because a lot of times we have those pent up emotions and we take it into relationships.
Correct.
We
Correct.
take it into our relationships, and then the relationships can't survive because we have all these little itsy bitsy things.
Issues that we bring to the relationship.
God.
I want to say too that one of the downfalls of being in a third world country like we are, I think the term for us now is developing nation. One of the
Okay.
problems we have is that we don't have access to people who can diagnose and then treat our psychological problems early in life. You would know that when we lived outside of Guyana, a child can be assessed
Right at the school.
right to the school.
Yeah,
At every
right at the
school,
school.
there are persons who are there to assess, and if not, there are systems in place where someone would come to the school or
Yep.
the child would be
Will be
sent
sent.
somewhere. We don't have those kinds of intervention, and I hope that with the dawn of this newfound wealth that we have,
We say black gold, what we call it.
black gold, all the fancy names. I hope that those are some of the infrastructural
That can be put in place.
things that can be put in place so that our society does not have this many dysfunctional people. I mean, when you, for a small city like Georgetown, when you go down to Border Market, the post office, you see, the inundation of people who you know, and you and I, we go and we talk to them, and you could hear that had it been for a little intervention,
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
medication, you see those guys and you encourage them. There are a good friend of mine, I won't call his name, one of the guys, and we remain friends. And when I get to him and I encourage him and I say, man, you take your medication, go
Yes,
and think,
come, yeah,
he would go. And when he takes his medication, he's
okay,
different,
he's
he's
okay,
clean,
he's
and you
okay.
could know when he's off his meds. There's another one of them, when he's on his medication, I don't know, he likes bicycles. When he's on his medication, you see him riding, he
Yep.
looks clean, he shouts at you, and then when he's not in his medication, he's
see.
dry. So I'm saying if we could only have systems in place to deal with some of these issues, and as we talked about the
Yep,
children,
yep, yep.
to intervene, we can help with the psychological problems that these children who come from non-involved homes, because a teacher can sense, a teacher who is well trained can sense that this
something is
child
wrong.
is being badly
Yep.
parented.
Something is
And-
wrong
and,
here.
and
Something is
so
wrong.
while the home, because it's okay for the teacher to say,